In this video, I'm going to show you how to create your own artwork in the style of Henrietta Harris. For my drawing, I used a 2B pencil and coloured pencil crayons because I'm imagining some of you might not have art materials at home. Harris used watercolour and gouache in her paintings, so if you have watercolours or other materials at home and you feel confident enough, then please have a go at those. The important thing is to make sure you do this drawing skillfully, which I will show you how to do in this video. You need a photograph to start off with. I took a selfie on my phone, but you can use a photo of someone else if you want. Aim to take the photo facing forward to start off with. Make sure there's plenty of space around the outside so all of your face and hair fits in. You're then going to distort your face using an app on your phone. This effect can also be achieved on Photoshop if you have this on your computer using the liquify filter, but the app is much easier and this is how you do it. So the quickest and easiest way to create this distorted effect on your photo is just to use an app on your phone. I downloaded an app called Photo Warp, but if you search in your app store for anything like Liquify or Warp, there should be an app. So even if you've got an iPhone, this is a Samsung, there'll be an option for you to do a very, very similar thing with with a different app. So, but this is the one that I've gone for. Okay, so you can either go into camera or you can then go into gallery. I've already got a photo that I want to use, so I'm going to go into gallery and I'm going to choose that photograph. So what you want to do is you want to select the slider icon at the bottom. It lets you change your brush size from big to small. I'm going to stick to big. And you can make the edge a little bit softer if you want to, but I'm going to stick to a nice hard edge. So once you've adjusted the brush settings, you can just tap on those sliders again, and it's a simple case of just dragging your finger across. Henrietta Harris does a very, very slight kind of distorted effect on her photographs, for her paintings. You can kind of do anything you want to, really. You can go the other way if you want to. You know, there's lots that you can actually do. Okay, but if you do it a little bit too distorted like that, it's going to be quite difficult to draw. So what I would recommend to do is something a little bit like this one that I've done earlier. Okay, so I've just dragged it across in the middle and nothing more. I'm starting my drawing off looking at the normal photo rather than the distorted one. This is because I want to map out the proportions of my face and basic shapes accurately. I start off by lightly drawing an oval with enough room on the right for the distorted bit. I draw a cross precisely in the middle of the oval. The vertical line acts as a line of symmetry, and the horizontal line is where my eyes are going to go. I divide this into 5 equal spaces. Halfway between the eye line and the bottom of the oval, I draw a horizontal line for the nose. The mouth line is halfway between the nose line and the bottom of the oval. The brackets of your nostrils line up with the corners of your eyes where your tear ducts are. The corners of your mouth line up with your pupils. Your neck lines up with the corners of your eyes, and what you can't see in my photo are my ears. The top of your ears line up with your eye line, and the bottoms of your ears line up with your nose line. I have mapped out the proportions now, so I know where to draw everything. Everyone's faces are different and unique, I know, but everyone's eyes, nose, mouth and ears and neck all line up in the same way, even some animals. So using the proportions of the face guideline is key for starting any portrait drawing, even distorted ones. I can now change the shapes I have used as guidelines to match the shapes I can see in my portrait photograph. I need to take my time and look closely to make sure I get these right, bringing my cheeks in, moving my chin down a bit and drawing the shapes of my lips accurately. I know we are drawing a distorted portrait, but Harris's style is mostly realistic. Also, I think you need to learn the rules before you can break them, so we'll be paying careful attention to tone, texture and detail as well. Now that I have the basic shapes down, I swap to the distorted photo to capture the distorted shapes. I still need to take my time and look closely to capture the distorted shapes as accurately as I can see them, using my fingers and pencil to measure where the eyes start and stop now, and measuring the angles of any lines I can see. I rub out my guidelines as soon as I realise I don't need them. Take this eye for example. I've marked out the space for my distorted one now, so I rub it out so I don't get too confused. I shade as I go along with a nice sharp pencil because this helps me to work out the shapes. I like to shade the darkest tones first because this helps me to plot out my tonal range so I can get some nice contrast with lighter tones and so I can balance out my mid-tones as I go along. I had a lot of fun drawing this weird eye. You get a sense of freedom when it comes to drawing the distorted parts. Just remember to keep the realistic parts tight, like the nose here. Draw accurately and observe closely. These bigger curves will help you to structure the more detailed parts. Think about where different parts come up to. For example, I can see the second eye comes up to halfway within this space. Now I've drawn this part in, I can see where the hair underneath lines up. It is important to keep looking at examples of your artist's work to influence the style as you go along. For example, I can see Harris's work has quite high contrasting tones. The hair and dark lips stand out quite well against the light skin tones, so I'm going to try and achieve the same thing in my drawing. I've drawn my lips and the bit below my nose in a similar style to Harris's, but I've chosen to observe the tones of my nose more closely to my photo, emphasising the unusual shapes I can see. I wanted to make the hair look like it's curving around the form of the head. I took inspiration from Harris, who uses a mixture of dark lines and lighter tones to show the texture and light reflecting off of the hair. I'm drawing from my photograph, but I'm exaggerating the lines a bit as I like the idea that the stripiness of the hair is being pulled into the curves of the distortion. I have a piece of kitchen towel under my hand to stop me from smudging the pencil I've already drawn. I quite like how Harris has her hair coming off like incomplete wispy tendrils, so I'm going to do the same to my drawing to make my hair look a bit more interesting. I've got quite dark hair, so I've got to try to balance the slightly lighter tones against the darker tones. I've pressed down quite hard on my pencil for the darker tones, so they appear almost black. I build up the slightly lighter tones gradually and smoothly until they are dark but light enough so you can just about distinguish between them. This is where the light hits my hair, so I shade leaving a bit of a space where I need to shade lighter. I then graduate the dark into the light, blending the tones together but making sure my pencil marks show a little bit to add a bit of texture. Unfortunately, my camera cut out in the middle of filming, but what I've done here is finish shading in shapes using different midtones. I've used a sharp pencil to capture clearly defined sharp edges. I used a small piece of kitchen roll to smudge tones for the left side of the face and for the neck. Everything from the chin down has been achieved by smudging, not shading, unless I'm building up darker tones, of course. I used a rubber to pick out highlights, then I went over all of my dark tones in detail with a sharp pencil to bring them out to finish. Henrietta Harris has added colourful wispy bits around her distorted bits, so I'm going to use coloured pencil to do the same. You can choose whichever colours you want. You can also choose whichever materials you want, even coloured or black biro if that's all you have at home. But don't get too carried away. Harris has used lots of different colours here, but that's because she has painted in colour and can get away with it. I have shaded with a 2B pencil and have quite high contrasting light and dark tones, so I have chosen orange and blue because they are complementary colours and will therefore also contrast with each other. I also quite like orange and blue because a lot of TV programmes use these colours in their colour scheme. Have a look next time you're watching TV. I'm drawing my lines in carefully using a sharp pencil, pressing quite hard so the colour is nice and vibrant. If the pencil is not sharp, your edges will be all horrible and fluffy, so make sure you sharpen your pencil for a high quality outcome. You can take the pressure off in places for a slightly lighter effect, just make sure your pencil is still sharp. Don't go too mad with your lines, be considerate about which colours will work best where, think about which parts you want to highlight, and keep your image well balanced. I'm excited to see your outcomes. Good luck!